Well, as the post-primary teachers call off their strike, lecturers at the Technical University of Kenya are downing their tools, and we will be telling you in a short while why that is happening. Plus, remember the governor who was sentenced to jail. He is appealing, and we'll be giving you the reasons why he's putting in that appeal. It is 9 p.m. East African from wherever you're watching us in Kenya and around the world. Good evening. My name is Mboya. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Anwangeshi, top in his live broadcast.
In compliance with the court, from the union side, we suspend the strike.
End of strike. Teachers Union KUPPET calls off a week-long strike even as some schools send learners home due to teachers' boycott.
All of us whom the president has given the privilege to serve have a solemn duty to dignify him and his office.
DP Gachagua warns against public officers' laxity in implementing presidential directives, saying it is exposing the presidency to ridicule. A Kenyan accused of killing his girlfriend in the United States to be charged with murder Tuesday in Boston. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Our socials at KBC Channel 1 on all our platforms. Speak to us. Let us know what your thoughts are on the stories that we're covering for you tonight. Well, we begin with our lead story. The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, has called off their one-week strike and urged teachers to resume duty immediately. Speaking at Teacher Service Commission offices, the Union Secretary General Akelo Misori said after negotiations with the Commission, they came to an agreement on how their grievances will be addressed. However, the Commission Chief Executive Officer Nancy Macharia said that medical covers and promotion of teachers, among other grievances, have already been addressed. Kasichana Masha is the one who puts that story in perspective.
In compliance with the court order which was instituted and which is coming up on 5th, that is Thursday, from the union side, we suspend the strike and ask all our teachers to go back to class pending the speedy resolutions of these matters as already agreed upon between us and the Commission.
Medical scheme funding has been restored and teachers can now access both private and private hospitals under the scheme. Transition to CBC. The government has provided resources for retooling of JSS teachers. Promotion of teachers, we are saying the TSC has already promoted 51,202 teachers under the competitive promotions, and the Commission shall continue promoting teachers as and when budgetary allocations are availed by Parliament. Commencement of the new round of CBA. This will commence once KUPPET submits their memorandum of demands. Parties have also agreed that other pending issues will be resolved through bilateral negotiations, as is the practice.
Well, some of the union officials are maintaining that they are yet to receive the money that the government announced to have released last week for their salary increments, and we'll be looking at that story hopefully a little later on. But let's look at another strike from the lecturers this time at the Technical University of Kenya. They have downed their tools, pressing for the implementation of the 2017-2021 Collective Bargaining Agreement, or CBA if you like. The dons at the institution are demanding, among other things, salary increments, prompt remittance of statutory deductions, and also repayment of loans deducted from their payslips. Through the university's academic staff union, the lecturers have vowed to stay on strike until their demands are fully met. Here is that report.
Following the lapse of the 7-day notice issued by the university's academic staff union at the Technical University of Kenya, with no response from management, the lecturers have finally downed their tools. Members of the union made their way through campus in their numbers, demanding the implementation of the 2017-2021 CBA. The claim attempts to have their grievances addressed have been futile, and their demands include delays in payments of salaries and non-remittance of their statutory deductions.
None of those demands has been met. Where in this world do you find an employee who works for 50% of the pay? As if we give 50% of our input in our work.
We want to be paid salaries like any other university, not at a rate lower than what the government is paying other universities. We are supposed to work under conditions that are recognized nationwide and countrywide, as provided for under the Employment Act and the Labor Relations Act.
The strike paralyzing learning at the institution.
The students can do other engagements, but that which has to do with learning and teaching, we have suspended until our issues are adequately addressed.
The remittances are not forwarded to the pension scheme. And those staff from TUK who are retiring, they go home with nothing.
The union vowing to soldier on with the strike until its demands are met. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, the civil servants are also putting government on notice. The Union of the Kenya Civil Servants has moved to court to challenge the decisions by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to freeze their salary increment, arguing that it violates their rights. In a petition filed at the High Court, the union said that the move amounts to an infringement on the fundamental rights of the civil servants, and it's in direct contravention of the existing collective bargaining approach signed by the union as well as the government regarding salary increments for its members. Earlier, the union issued a strike notice for later on this month if government fails to honor the second phase of the CBA, which was to be implemented in July.
Salary increment, which is inclusive of house allowance, must be paid today and must be backdated to 1st of July 2024. If our second phase of salary bargain or CBA is not implemented by this month, all civil servants in the Republic of Kenya, as has been resolved today in the Delegates Conference, will down their tools.
Solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong.
Straight to the corridors of justice, where former Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal and businessman Hesbon Ndavi have appealed their jail term and have been released on a bond of 10 million shillings each. Lenol Kulal, in his appeal, told Kibera's trial judge Diana Kavedza that he suffers from a condition called pre-eclampsia and that there is indeed a high risk of being confined if in jail, and that process of confinement could trigger a rapid health deterioration as well as a life-threatening condition. However, the judge unmerited the health claim, saying that prisons are equipped with health facilities to see that the former governor is medically cared for. The details are in the Scales of Justice segment.
The duo were found guilty of graft by receiving 84 million shillings from the county government of Samburu and abuse of office, among other offences. On Thursday last week, were ordered to pay a mandatory fine of 84 million shillings each. Melimani's trial magistrate Thomas Nzioki also directed them to pay another 2 million shillings or serve 8 years in prison. Dissatisfied by the judgment, the duo went to Kibera Cycle to seek refuge. Lenol Kulal cited he suffers from preeclampsia, which is a repeated bout of hypertension, while Ndavi said he suffers from type 2 diabetes and has been on treatment since 2023. They told the judge that their condition will go grave if confined in prison. The judge has directed the deputy registrar to ensure the original lower court file and certified recording of the proceedings are availed at Milimani's anti-corruption and economic crimes before October 31st, when the duty judge will hear the appeal. And the hearing of a case of robbery with violence where 75 million shillings was stolen did not kick off after the two witnesses said to testify informed the court they had emergencies to attend to. The 10 accused persons in the case are accused of robbing G4 staff at gunpoint in 2019. Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina has directed the hearing to continue on 17th of next month. Elsewhere, a truck driver has been charged with stealing 560 bags of urea fertilizer on transit from Mombasa to the Kenya National Cereals and Produce Board. Appearing before Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina, the accused Benson Omondi Bonyo pleaded not guilty to stealing nitrogen fertilizer valued at 2.2 million shillings.
The accused is granted bond of Kenya shillings 800,000 evaluate the same amount. The case is allocated to court number 8.
Pre-trial is set for 12th September. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
And across the borders, President William Samoei Ruto is among African leaders who have arrived in Beijing, China, for a highly anticipated forum on China-Africa cooperation, FORAC, seeking to deepen ties between the world's second-largest economy and the resource-rich continent of Africa. The leaders are looking to secure new deals and investment amid heightened global competition for Africa's resources and also influence. Trevor Ngendo reports.
The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FORAC, set to begin on Wednesday, will be China's largest diplomatic gathering since the COVID-19 pandemic, featuring African leaders, including South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, and Kenya's William Ruto. Over the past decade, China has poured billions of dollars into African infrastructure projects, from railways to hydroelectric plants, in exchange for access to the continent's abundant natural resources. While these investments have spurred development, they have also ignited controversy of the rising debt burdens on many African nations. African countries are eager to tap into China's economic power to fuel their growth, yet the forum comes at a time when Beijing is becoming more cautious about extending large-scale loans due to its own economic slowdown. This shift making the forum a key opportunity for African leaders to negotiate more favorable terms and address concerns over mounting debt. China remains Africa's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade reaching $168 billion in the first half of 2024. However, China has been resistant to offering substantial debt relief, even as some African nations, such as Kenya, struggle to meet their repayment obligations. Kenya's President William Ruto is expected to address these challenges at the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, with analysts predicting that he will push for more favorable loan terms from China to alleviate the financial pressure on the country. Beyond economic concerns, the forum is also expected to address the growing geopolitical tensions that could shape Africa's future. With the United States and China increasingly at odds over issues ranging from trade to Taiwan, African nations find themselves caught in the crossfire. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
And back home, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has challenged government officers to fully implement presidential directives to avoid putting President William Ruto's authority into question. Speaking on Monday during the launch of 2 information systems that will aid in tracking the implementation of the presidential directives and foreign travel by officers, the Deputy President said that the dignity of the President should not be put into question by the failure to roll out directives as envisaged. Give us on minor reports.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua wants cabinet secretaries and their principal secretaries to lead from the front in dignifying the person and the office of the president by expeditiously implementing directives he has issued.
All of us whom the president has given the privilege to serve have a solemn duty to dignify him and his office by making sure that whatever pronouncement he makes across the country is implemented without fail.
The Presidential Directives Management Information System and the Foreign Travel Information Management System are designed to ensure efficiency, transparency and accountability in service delivery and decision-making.
So this system helps our officers across government to keep a tab on what is happening and have a feedback mechanism of what the President has directed and the implementation matrix.
The launch of the two systems comes in the wake of public uproar over the state of government projects across the country.
All the presidential directives that have so far been issued will be audited, worked on and implemented to the satisfaction of the people of Kenya.
Gachagua saying Kenyans had recently demanded more transparency on how taxpayers' money was being spent, and the two systems were timely and necessary in achieving the same.
We have had instances where almost everybody is struggling, and sometimes you are left to wonder who remains behind to buy the house.
This end-to-end automated system streamlines the process of foreign travel clearance for cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, chairpersons, and CEOs of state corporations, all of whom require approval from His Excellency, the President, through the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service.
Foreign travel's information management systems requires all senior government officials to seek automated clearance from the Head of Public Service to make any foreign travel. It is also designed to avert the plunder of public resources through unnecessary travel. Give us in mind, Prime Edition.
Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission now wants Parliament to provide timelines for the courts to dispense with cases challenging the impeachment of county governors. Appearing before the Senate Legal Affairs Committee over the county government's state officers' removal from offices procedure bill, the electoral agency proposed that the courts be given at most 6 months to dispense with impeachment motions. The Council of Governors, however, wants impeachment motions only to be introduced 2 years after governors assume office.
A fortnight ago, the Senate upheld the impeachment of Meru County Governor Kawira Mwangaza, a decision that was later stayed by the High Court, awaiting determination. The Senate is now considering the county government's state officers' removal from office procedure bill, which will provide timelines for courts to dispense with cases challenging the impeachment of county governors. Submitting before the Senate Legal Affairs Committee, IEBC proposed the courts be given at most 6 months to dispense with the impeachment motions.
When it comes to impeachment and dispute resolution, timelines, there ought to be an end in litigation. What we might want to do or consider is to provide a timeline for which the courts have to hear an impeachment dispute, because it's not in law. It's not in the County Governments Act. It's not in the Elections Act. It's nowhere.
I think this is a welcomed proposal which we must consider, so that if it is an impeachment dispute that has been taken to court, whether to challenge the decision of the County Assembly or the Senate, then it must be resolved within certain timelines.
The bill, sponsored by Kiambu Senator Karongo Thangwa, seeks to protect governors from being impeached within 6 months after assumption of office. The Council of Governors, however, wants impeachment motions only to be introduced 2 years after governors assume office to ensure stability in devolved units, a proposal that IEBC endorsed.
We need to tie the timelines, because if a member of parliament and a county assembly are being recalled within a particular time, then maybe there is a reason why the ones for governor and the president have this timeline of 6 months.
The council also proposed 1 year gap from the previous impeachment to allow the governors to correct shortcomings raised during the previous impeachment. Geshoke Washira, Prime Edition.
Now, you remember Nairobi Governor Sakaja's school feeding program? The Governor Johnson Sakaja of Nairobi is tonight dismissing claims of an impending impeachment, labeling them as baseless distractions. Sakaja asserted that his administration remains focused on service delivery and fulfilling its promises made to Nairobi residents. He made the remarks during the opening of the Dishina County Kitchen in Umoja. Umoja is in Embakasi West.
Nairobi City County Governor Johnson Sakaja says he is not bothered by an alleged disquiet amongst his perceived political nemesis. The Nairobi County boss has recently been criticized over the state of affairs in Kenya's capital, but the governor appears unmoved by reports that he may be the subject of a looming debate in the county assembly.
As we are focused on the work we're doing for the people of Nairobi, so please, our team in the executive, our team in the assembly, remain focused. Get those things that you see, focus on work. Hawa wananchi ni wananchi watakatifu. Hawa watoto, they deserve your undivided attention. Wake up every day thinking about the people who you represent, the people who have given you an opportunity to serve.
Last month, Sakaja endured a hostile reception at the toy market after tempers flared over the handling of a deadly inferno that left traders counting losses. And on Monday, the governor maintained that his agenda for Nairobi was perfectly on course as he expanded the Dishina County feeding program.
So we will continue with this program. We will scale it up still, haijaisha, into phase 3. Saizi shule zetu zote public ambazo zimekubali kwa program, wote wanapata chakula Nairobi hii. 310,000 children at 5 shillings.
The school feeding program is designed to bring some much-needed relief to parents who are increasingly finding it hard to feed and keep their children in school. Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
Well, you remember the Kenyan who was accused of killing his girlfriend in the United States is set to face trial Tuesday. That's tomorrow from here in Nairobi, Kenya. Well, that story brings us to a first break here on Prime Edition. We'll be back shortly. Don't go away.
Ni zawadi za kila wiki, 100,000 kila wiki, 250,000 kila wiki. Uamuzi ni wako. Sasa Lotomoto kwenye holiday bonanza hii inakuletea game mpya kupitia *570# option 4 na ujishindia up to 250,000 Kenyan shillings ukiwa nyumbani. Na draw ni ya kila wiki na kupata tiketi yako ni kupitia *570# pekee option 4 na tiketi yako ikitufikia inaingia ndani ya drum.
Nakuuliza, wewe wakati ulikucha hapo ulipata ni nani amekongwa?
Wewe ukisema nilipeni niende.
Na sasa nikikongwa, pilipili ambaye inayokuchoma inakuhusu na nini? Hiyo parapara wewe uko unaiona vizuri na ndio sababu uko na macho ine. Na ndio ukatoka kwa kando kunikonga na nilikuwa kwa pedestrian.
A stage play of Sarafina musical went down.
Mr. and Miss Soweto went down at Kahawa Primary School.
Outside of this music, outside of this thing that I've loved all my life, I realized that it was taking me to where I need to be.
The name is Jags. Basically, you know, I've been a music producer and artist in the game. Started off with Scamares, you know, which was my first track with Mad Tracks.
Bensol got to perform with the orchestra.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Prime Edition, coming to you live from Broadcasting House here in Nairobi. Now, the Kenyan Kevin Kang'ethe, who is accused of killing his girlfriend Margaret Mbilu in the United States of America, is set to face the charge of murder Tuesday in an American court following his extradition on Sunday. Confirming the extradition, Director of Public Prosecutions Renson Ngonga stated that Kenya's commitment and support to the US of A as it proceeds with the case is intact.
A sign of justice to Margaret Mbitu's family, as the suspect accused of killing their daughter is said to be arraigned at the Suffolk Superior Court in Pemberton Square in Boston on Tuesday. In a statement, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Renson Ngonga, reiterated his commitment to accord the USA the necessary support, and in particular the prosecution team, as they proceed with the next phase of the case. He also pledged support and prayers to the family of Margaret Mbitu. The DPP had assured the FBI Director Christopher Wray during talks in Nairobi in June this year that his office would ensure justice involving the case is done in an expeditious manner. Kevin Kang'ethe flew to Kenya in 2023 after allegedly killing his girlfriend Margaret Mbitu and was on the run until he was arrested by Kenyan authorities and arraigned before Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina, who subsequently ruled that he be extradited. Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
Now, Daragwa constituency is domiciled in Nyandarua County and relies on agriculture as its main economic mainstay. The population is mostly rural and primarily engaged in crop farming and livestock keeping as well. In this episode of Know Your Legislator, JJ Curia visited the constituency to assess the implementation and also the impact of projects executed under the National Government Constituency Development Fund. The current Member of Parliament, for your information, is George Gashagwa. Here are the details.
Ndaragwa constituency is littered with scenic landscapes that include the Aberdare Ranges. Beyond these scenic views is a constituency that has grappled with underdevelopment over the years. At first, we are confronted by the reality of dwindling education standards, with most school-going children forced to learn in dilapidated schools. The infrastructure is nothing to write home about. From gaping holes between the old wood that make up the classroom walls to storm water seeping in.
Hii shule ya Kaudha Primary School tulianzisha mwaka wa 1992 na imekaa ikiwa imejengwa na offcuts.
While other constituencies grapple with renovations and tiling, the area MP George Gashagwa grapples with erecting new classrooms and tiling them.
My brother, once you assume an office, it's like signing and saying yours faithfully.
Schools such as Kahodha and Mutanga primary schools are now enjoying new school infrastructure, serving a section of a school courtesy of NGCDF.
Tumekuwa na madarasa ambayo hata ukiangalia kwa picha unaona hayakuwa yanastahili kwa wanafunzi ambao wanasoma vizuri, lakini sasa ametujengea madarasa mawili.
Ametujengea shule madarasa mazuri, tumeona barabara ameweza kuijenga na tunagojea mengi kutoka kwake.
Wakati tumemchagua mheshimiwa wetu George Gashagwa, amekuja na akaona vile tunakaa vibaya, madarasa mabaya, na akaanza kujengea permanent classrooms.
Even existing infrastructure in some schools is in dire need of renovations.
I have done 16 new classes and 11 new classes are ongoing. and finishing them to the good finishing and the good workmanship and such. I found a lot of schools with timber structures. To an extent, a kid from a different class would hear what the other teacher in another class is saying.
The constituency fund has so far been pumped into renovating classes in Kimaru, Kiandege, Subuku, Kameda, Pesi primary schools, each having 4 classrooms renovated, installed with steel doors and tiles, while Pondo Secondary has had 8 of its classrooms renovated.
Our school, we benefited by having 6 classrooms being renovated. The iron sheets were removed since they were leaking. The floor are tiled, and also some plastering was done. And also putting in place missing windows, and part of the electricity, that is power, was also done.
I was posted here in January 2024. The school was in a pathetic situation, and we applied for assistance from the CDF.
The CDF kitty, under the patronage of Gachagua, has also seen the construction of Parkview Primary School Administration Block. As a means of economic empowerment, the renovations and classrooms are done by local artisans.
Tunafanya kazi hapa ya CDF na tumesaidika kulisha watoto wetu na familia zetu.
Tunashukuru mbunge wetu wa Ndaragwa, Mheshimiwa George Gachagua, ambaye ameona hii mwanya na kutupatia hii keki ya serikali ili watoto waendelee kusoma vizuri wakiwa mahali ambapo hakuna uchafu, hakuna matope.
The constituency has set aside 60 million shillings of its annual CDF kitty for bursaries, where students access between 4 and 8,000 shillings.
Walipea boarding school grade 4 na university grade 8, na kusema ukweli tumeshukuru juu tumeona huyu mheshimiwa kwa masomo anapendelea sana.
Very soon I'll be a very proud member of parliament, exhibiting the outcome of the money I am using on bursary. It may not be visible right now, but these students, once they are through with the studies, I'll tell you, some years to come, you'll hear a doctor, an engineer, a pharmaceutical, from these students who look like they can't go anywhere.
Most roads in the constituency have remained impassable. In fact, in the course of our tour of a constituency, residents of Shamata were out demonstrating over the stalled construction of a road that serves a major trade artery.
Kutoka hapa kuenda Shamata hakuna lami na barabara imeharibika sana. Na saa hii kwa wakati huu kuna mvua. Watu wanawekewa hapa, wanaenda miguu ama gari nalala kwa mtaro juu barabara sio mzuri.
There is a stretch that has really been a problem to me. And the other day people were actually even demonstrating. And to me, maybe somebody thought that I'll be affected by that. I can't be affected by that because people have a right to demonstrate when roads are bad.
Although hampered by ongoing rains, the Mairoinya-Ndogino Karamton Road is being tarmacked.
That road has been a nightmare. And even when I was campaigning, people there forgot about everything else. And to them, they were just emphasizing on how I could help, I could aid in that road being tarmacked.
The Subuku-Muhakaini Road has already been tarmacked, while construction of a Makereka-Subuku-Gakoe Road is ongoing.
I have promised the Ndaragwa people that roads will never a political issue there. They will never be a campaign tool again. I'm endeavoring to make sure that I'll see that around 106 kilometers will be done, will be tarmacked. And fortunately, I'm in a conversation with the president, and he is of the idea that he'll help me to make sure that they are tarmacked.
Despite the constituency bordering the Seneca-Abadea ranges, the constituency suffers from acute shortage of water for domestic consumption and farming. Working in the National Irrigation Authority, the Simbara and Kihara dams are being distilled, with area residents hopeful the water will boost commercial agriculture.
Taanza zao mambo hii ya kupanda viazi. Tapanda ile kitunguu inapatia watu milioni ya pesa. Kwa hivyo naomba kamilike haraka hiyo mwaka ujao tuanze kulima na hiyo maji kitunguu ile itakupatia pesa.
In my first term, I want Daragwa people to compare the number of dams, the number of boreholes that I will do compared to the ones that my predecessors did. Every borehole will do an elevated tank, and from that elevated tank, we will articulate the community around.
Installation of electricity to homes is ongoing in several areas, including Nairobi area where we toured. To boost security and administration, Gachagua has prioritized the construction of Kihara Police Station and offices housing chiefs in Mwangaza and Wanyoike areas.
If you go to a chief's office, you'll find that some people, some domestic cases, these domestic cases, somebody is explaining himself to a chief, but the rest of the people are seated somewhere. The following day, it becomes like a scandal. So I decided I'll be constructing good administration blocks for the chiefs and the ACCs, so that when somebody goes to report anything, there is that privacy.
The soft-spoken legislator has adopted his own style of leadership as he continues to serve Daragwa.
I'm not this person who looks forward to be re-elected or to have that political fever out of talking. I want to work. I would like my work to talk more than making noise out there.
But the upgrade of critical infrastructure in schools remains his priority for the next 3 years. John Jacob Curia, Channel 1.
Members of the Nakuru County Assembly have raised concerns over loss of millions of shillings of public funds in purchase of plastic seats and tents at inflated prices. They claim that the county was spending 1,800 shillings on a plastic seat that costs 800 shillings and 175,000 shillings on a tent that would cost a fifth of that figure. Details of this and more in our county news roundup.
Speaking after supplying some of the tents and seats to residents of Kinungi, Naivasha East Member of County Assembly Stanley Karanja called on Governor Susan Kihika and Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to intervene and curb loss of public funds.
Tuwezi weka pesa tunufaisha watu wetu, alafu unaletewa ukiweka milioni 2 unaletewa hema 5. It is not practical. Na tunaona ya kwamba governor aigirie kati aangalie what is really happening kwa procurement.
They have accused the procurement department of working in cahoots with unscrupulous traders to fleece the county. The move comes as EACC is investigating 14 officers over the supply of low-quality sports uniforms worth over 27 million shillings early in the year. Meanwhile, a section of women from Kakamega County have decried the remarks towards women made by their governor Fernandes Baraza, terming them insensitive.
Umeacha kazi yako, unatembea kwa matanga ukiongea about Fivunguyu. Constitution ya 2010 chapter 5 ina recognize women.
Constitution yetu ya Kenya inapea mama uhuru wa kuchaguliwa na kupiga kura.
Fanya maendeleo, tulikutuma maendeleo.
In Bungoma County, a section of Bungoma High School went up in flames on Monday morning, damaging property of unknown value. The cause of the fire is yet to be known.
Jengo hilo ni jengo la ghorofa, ni library. Ni library na liko na floor 2. The first floor, which is the ground floor. The ground floor ndio library. ndio iko na vitabu, iko na ofisi za walimu. Hatujui nini kimesababisha moto huo. Investigations zinaendelea.
Finally, a 36-year-old fisherman drowned in Lake Victoria on Sunday night. According to his colleagues, the deceased slipped off the boat under unclear circumstances while preparing to cast their fishing net. The search for his body is on.
Jana usiku saa 3:30 nilipata ripoti kwa mwenye boti ati mmoja naitwa Willis Okech alidrone kwa water. Sasa hiyo report ndio nimepata, ndio tukachukua report, tulipelekea police na tumesapea hata watu wa fisheries na Kenya Coast Guard.
We are appealing any assistance that we can at least get from any of the body which is concerned, at least to allow us find the body as a family and retrieve the body back.
For Prime Edition, I'm Christine Matunda.
Siamini.
Amini usiamini, Holiday Bonanza ni ya kila mtu na zawadi zitakufikia mahali popote. Dial *570#, chagua option 4 na zawadi kibao zinakungoja. Ikiwa kila wiki kuna 250,000 Kenyan shillings za kushindaniwa. Ni *570# pekee, option 4, tushinde.
Welcome to the day's business. The Food and Agriculture Organization has rolled out a program that involves recycling of farm waste to make animal feed, organic fertilizer, and biodegradable packaging materials. The initiative targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the agriculture value chain, while at the same time increasing income for farmers, as Alan Aoko narrates.
The Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, indicates that 31% of greenhouse gas emissions stem from food systems, right from cultivation to consumption. To help reduce carbon emissions, development partners have devised ways of enticing farmers to embrace sustainable farming practices.
Used to come out as waste from the banana is now being used for production in other commodities, other handcrafts. So it's no longer a waste that can be thrown away.
In the program, farmers are being trained to use tomatoes that would otherwise go to waste to make ketchup, bananas or orange peels to make animal feeds, rice husks to make compost or organic fertilizer, pineapple crowns to make biodegradable packaging materials, or other food waste to produce a bioenergy. The 193 million shillings initiative, which is also being supported by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, and International Organization for Migration, IOM, is promoting a circular economy in agribusiness by encouraging farmers to use food waste to produce new products.
The farmer produces more. What's the intake? We create further businesses because in linear economy, you only have that many jobs, but once you start circulating the jobs, then circulating the value chain, you create more jobs.
The initiative is rooting for alternative methods of farming, such as regenerative farming and climate-smart agriculture, to boost yields and income while reducing emissions for a viable future for the planet.
Still in the agriculture sector, the tea subsector is set to undergo a raft of policy changes that seek to reduce volumes of unsold tea at the auction. Tea Board of Kenya Chief Executive Officer Willy Mutai says that plans to allow direct sales and set the minimum quality standard are at an advanced stage in a bid to increase tea exports.
100 million kilos of tea from the Kenya Tea Development Agency affiliated factories remains unsold at the Mombasa Tea Auction. The agency has been struggling to attract buyers due to poor quality of the green leaf and the setting of minimum price.
Machinery plucking also compromises the issue of quality. We also urge our farmers also to exercise care when plucking with machineries. Hand picking mostly is the one that gives the best quality, and then we urge our farmers also to look at that. And there also the issue of handling.
To increase shipments of Kenya tea, the government is contemplating allowing KTD-affiliated factories start direct sales to diversify Kenyan markets.
Production from the small sales subsector based on what they are paying on bonus, and you run on the calendar year for the government running the GDP, we are doing well. So far we are at 22% in terms of the production and the value. So meaning what we did last year, we are up by 18 billion. Meaning with the efforts that we are still having with them, we are likely to hit around 211 billion in GDP.
Plans are also underway to set and enforce the minimum quality standard to ensure the Kenyan tea competes with green leaf from the neighboring countries and fetch more at the auction.
Tea hooking, they affect quality mainly because they are umpires who don't mind about the quality they buy from our farmers. But since there has been a lot of economic hardship to our farmers, so sometimes they think of earning something for hand to mouth. So if they don't get something that is motivating, sometimes they may pluck and sell to any buyer who can give him something that specific day.
To increase sales through value addition, KTD's subsidiary Ketepa is set to undergo a 1 billion shillings modernization venture. The government has also been keen on increasing tea value addition from the current 5% to 20% in the next 3 years.
Nut processors are calling on government to impose a ban on the export of unprocessed macadamia on concerns that importers are outcompeting them on price for the Kenyan produce. The processors are concerned that stiff competition for the unprocessed macadamia nuts could see most of them closing shop due to inadequate supplies that will impact jobs and ultimately the economy.
Kenya in 2009 banned the export of unprocessed macadamia nuts to allow local processors access larger quantities of the raw material, which in turn will create jobs in this labor-intensive sector. However, this didn't offer farmers many options and contributed to low farm gate prices. This was addressed last year through the lifting of the ban on the export of unprocessed macadamia nuts, which has offered farmers more market options.
The exports of raw unprocessed macadamia nuts has resulted to the new nut and shell export companies using significant amounts of wood in their dryers, which is not sustainable for the environment. Another major effect of the direct export of unprocessed macadamia nuts to China is that key buyers and large retailers from US and Europe are taking flight. They're leaving the country, they're leaving their purchases from the country, from Kenya.
They say in 2009, there were 3 other key macadamia producing countries, namely Australia, South Africa, and the United States. Kenya was supplying about 20% of the produce to the global market.
What is happening is that the foreign traders majorly work with brokers who take advantage of the farmer and buy the macadamia nuts from the farmer at a very low price. Unlike for us, the processors, who have set up our collection centers and collection networks close to the farmer.
So before the lifting of the ban, China has been buying in-shell from South Africa, mainly Australia as well. South Africa, Australia grows grafted nuts, only 100%. South Africa has become wiser. They have now blocked the sales of nut and shell.
They fear that stiff competition from importers could see local processors closing shop due to inadequate supply of raw materials. Prime Edition.
Now, landowners affected by construction of the Dongo Kundu Special Economic Zone will receive their compensation within 1 month. The Kenya Ports Authority has begun compensating the affected persons who will be resettled on the 430-acre land. Investments Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya says that 97 investors have so far expressed interest in setting up at the 3,000-acre Dongo Kundu Special Economic Zone.
And in the next 1 month, all the issues of compensation will have been concluded. And this compensation is going to take place in 2 fronts. One front is that 1,648 project-affected persons will be allocated some land, and then they will also be given support to develop their new areas. This new land where compensation will happen is 430 acres, and therefore Kenya Ports Authority will be providing leadership to make sure that the process of compensation, which began last week, is going to be concluded. And that conclusion means also dealing with some of the small grievances that people are raising. Right now, we have received 97 investors who want to be licensed to set up camp in the special economic zone, and that is why the compensation program has to be concluded so that the horizontal investments can begin, and then we can license, investors to move to the ground.
Zawadi za kila wiki, 100,000 kila wiki, 250,000 kila wiki. Uamuzi ni wako. Sasa Lutomoto kwenye holiday bonanza hii inakuletea game mpya kupitia star 570 hash option 4 na unashindia up to 250,000 Kenyan shillings ukiwa nyumbani. Na draw ni ya kila wiki, na kupata tikiti yako ni kupitia star 570 hash pekee option 4, na tikiti yako ikitufikia inaingia ndani ya drum.
Yes, indeed, just in time for the latest from the sports world with me, Bernardo Kumu. And let's begin with soccer, because the national soccer team, Harambee Stars, left the country today ahead of their 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying match against Zimbabwe this Friday at the Mandela Nambole National Stadium in Kampala, Uganda. The Engine Feeder Chargers will then face Namibia on Tuesday next week in their second qualifying match in South Africa. Both matches will be televised live on KBC Channel 1.
Engine Firat's squad for the 2025 AFCON qualifying matches against Zimbabwe and Namibia, scheduled to be played on September 6th and 10th, is a blend of local talents and international players. Captain Mike Olunga, Jonah Hayunga, Eric Ouma, Joseph Okumu, and Richard Odanda are among the foreign-based players included in the squad and are expected to join the team in Uganda. Former Gor Mahia forward Benson Omala and Victor Omune also made the cut. The first match will be the encounter against Zimbabwe this Friday in Uganda, followed by the second match against Namibia on September 10th in South Africa. Kenya is pooled in Group J of the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifiers alongside Cameroon, Namibia and Zimbabwe.
And 2 more Kenyans are yet to compete in this year's edition of the 2024 Paralympic Games in Paris, France, as Team Kenya hopes to bag its first medals. Powerlifter Helen Wawera will take to the bench in women's under 41 kilograms on Thursday, as para-cyclist Kennedy Ogada takes it to the field in time trials on Wednesday and road cycling on Friday. Now, Kenya will return from the Paralympic Games without a medal in athletics after hopefuls in the women's 1500 T11 final. Mary Waithera, guided by James Boyd, finished 4th in a personal best of 4 minutes at 41.48 seconds. The 2020 Paralympics lone bronze medalist Nancy Chelangat finished in a disappointing 5th place in a race won by Ethiopia's Yayesh Tesfao. Kenya has never failed to win a medal at the Paralympic Games since its debut at the 2000 Games in Sydney, Australia. Elsewhere, Faith Chepchirchir and Titus Kiprotich emerged victorious in the Mozart Rediscover Nandi 10-kilometer road race held in Kapsabet, Nandi County. Chepchirchir won the race after clocking 35 minutes at 30.2 seconds ahead of Edna Chepkemei, who finished second, while Titus Kiprotich from Elgeyo Marakwet won the men's category. Now, the race started at Kapsasur, while the finish line was at Namgoi Secondary School. The road race was to sensitize the public on environmental conservation.
Mazuri kwa kuwa kuna champions wengi wametoka katika walikuwa wakiparticipate kwa mbio na wamekuwa champion sasa, so mimi niko na hiyo matumaini ya kwamba siku moja hata mimi nitakuwa champion.
Tumeshiriki mbio ya leo, ilikuwa ni hard sana, lakini niling'ang'ana kabisa, niling'ang'ana yangu yote.
This race brings about growing the talents for the youth, especially across the country and more so in the North Rift.
So we are happy to support and to be proudly partner with such an initiative which are sponsoring youth.
And back to soccer, where Mathare North United won the Nairobi region to Jiamini Cheza Dimba tournament held at Dandora Stadium. The side defeated Plains FC 3-0 in the final to walk away with a 3-year sponsorship worth 250,000 shillings annually. Now, en route to the final, Mathare North beat Zimmerman All-Stars and Indomitable FC. Michael Itieng was the top scorer for Mathare North United with 5 goals. Mathare North head coach David Onyango praised his charges for their resilience throughout the tournament. The founder of DBA Africa, Suzanne Halagad, emphasized the importance of Tujiamini initiative of long-term talent nurturing and development goals. The Tujiamini Cheza Dimba tournament now heads to Nyanza region as it approaches the culmination in 3 months.
The main focus about Tujiamini is trying to change somebody's life and trying to make an impact and just empowering the youth. And that's the reason as to why we are here today.
There is a need for more investment, more help, and also for clubs. So we found some amazing clubs where 200 to 300 children are involved in training, but they need simple things like shoes or kit. And I think with a little bit of help, they can really do a lot more and progress and become even better at what they do.
Tujiamini and the policy for football are two different things, but yes, it can in different ways, in the sense that we are trying to get into the grassroots levels. We are trying to get into the grassroots levels. It's not about just coming to support the teams that are on a higher side, but trying to get into the grassroots level.
Elsewhere, Kwale County government is collaborating with other leaders to help the youth develop their talents and earn a living through football. This was revealed during the inauguration of the new board of management of SS Assad Football Club. SS Assad Football Club President Richard Onsongo says through a budget of 15 million shillings, they are trying to give capacity to players and make sure there are no restrictions that prevent them from playing and bring fame to Kwale County.
Siku ya leo tunaanza officially kuanza kucheza, tunazindua timu ya kwenda kucheza pamoja na kids zao, tukishirikiana na gavana wetu na mbunge wetu na viongozi wengine, kwa sababu tuko trustees 15 zote tukicha pamoja, hawa vijana watapata shida ambayo walipata.
Sisi kama viongozi tutakwenda kushirikiana na timu ya SS Assad na timu nyingine zote za hapa Msambweni na Kwale kwa jumla, ili kuweza kukuza vipaji ya hawa vijana wetu wa Msambweni.
And to golf now, where Handicap 5 home player Major retired Peter Waweru carded an excellent round of 35 points to claim top prize at the 19th qualifying leg of the 2024 NCBA Golf Series held at the Scenic Nanyuki Sports Club. Veteran Waweru delivered an outstanding performance, fending off a stiff challenge from Moses Mudhoki, who had to settle for the runner-up position in Division 1 after also returning 35 points playing off Handicap 7. Stephen Mutethia emerged the winner in Division 2 after scoring an impressive 37 points. Purity Gidhui led the ladies with 35 points, securing her victory in the female division. 120 golfers graced the greens for a chance to qualify for the grand finale scheduled at Muthaiga Golf Club on 29th of November this year.
NCBA has prioritized golf as a brand platform, as a development platform for juniors, the elite amateurs, and in the club series where we show our appreciation to the customers that bank with us, that play golf, but also get to meet the community, the people around in the town who are also members of these clubs that may not be enjoying the services of NCBA.
And that's it from the Sports Desk. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernard Okumu.
It's indeed Bernard Okumu there, and Anne Wangeshi for handling the sign language docket. Of course, I want to thank the Prime Edition in the back end for enabling this bulletin to be broadcast tonight. Remember the 9th summit of the Forum of China Cooperation kicking off in Beijing on Wednesday. That's in 2 days' time. African leaders gathering in Beijing. Those leaders including Kenya's President William Ruto, the Chinese Authority, saying that they aim to write a new chapter between the continent of Africa and China relationship. I've got to sign off. My name is Mboya. Thank you so much for watching from Nairobi, Kenya. Good night and God bless you. We'll be back tomorrow.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports,
Drama. We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
To keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.